Are you having trouble sleeping? Well, it turns out that there are a number of factors you wouldn't even imagine that can really mess up your rest. If you're wondering how to get better Z's, Dr. Christopher Winter, the director at Charlottesville Neurology and Sleep Medicine, is here to give us some tips. Welcome.
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you? I had a very nice night's sleep last night, thankfully.
Oh, that's good.
But so many of us don't get to do that. And there's a new article up on HuffPost Healthy Living called The 10 Unexpected Things That Can Ruin Your Sleep. The first one up is that you're an inconsistent eater. Can you tell me why diet actually matters for our sleep? I mean, of course, we've heard things like caffeine, but what about the rest of your diet?
Well, you can think of food just in its entirety. There's not very many ways our brain really understands what time of day it is. And meal times, like exercise and light, which are mentioned later on in the article, are really important. So having an established schedule with your breakfast, lunch, and dinner gives your brain something to sort of latch onto in terms of what to expect. So it knows to expect a meal or dinner time at 7 o'clock. And from that Zeitgeber, or sort of time cue, it knows that a few hours later, sleep's coming. So when we delay our dinner, it sort of throws our brain off in terms of determining at what time of day it is and when we need to sleep.
You just mentioned light, and that's another point on the list, and we can jump to that now. You charge up at night. Now, we know that you shouldn't be really watching TV before you go to bed, and that you shouldn't be on your smartphone or your iPad because the light kind of wakes you up. But why shouldn't we actually charge up at night?
Well, I think in terms of the light and charging and things of that nature, I mean, the night is a time for us to be decelerating, both in terms of our activity level and our light exposure. So one of the first things I tell people to do who are having trouble sleeping is get some cheap little light switches at Lowe's or Home Depot and put them around your house so that, in the evening you can sort of lessen the amount of light that your eyes are seeing. So all those things are really important.
One of the ones that really surprises me on the list, because it's very counterintuitive when we think of what we want to do to sort of relax and get in bed, you get warm and cozy. It makes sense that to go to bed, you want to snuggle up with your favorite blanket or snuggle up with your pet.
No, you can be comfortable, and I agree, warm is nice, but for optimal sleeping, our bodies like to be a little cold, which is, I actually have this device on my bed that allows me to control my half of the bed. My wife can control her half. And so, she likes it warm. And so we turn hers on warm, but as soon as she gets in bed, she usually turns it off at my suggestion. I actually have mine cold even in the wintertime, which she kind of sneaks her leg over and feels on my side and says, "My God, how could you sleep like that?" But in actuality, and she'll be the first to tell you, I sleep really well because that 60 to 67 degree range is really where we want to be, regardless of whether it's winter or summer. So when you're watching your movie or your favorite Christmas special, be warm and be out there on your couch. But when it's time to sleep, you really want to try to get rid of some of that heaviness to your bed and be in a little bit of a cooler state when you sleep.
I love a cold bedroom, so thankfully
I do too.
I'm going to play this for my poor fiance who has to sleep with the window open and freeze all night because
No, you need this little mattress cover. Then that way he can have what he wants and you can keep it freezing and be just fine.
Now, before I let you go, you mentioned a minute ago that you sleep very well. I'm curious to know what your sleep routine is because all of us out there really do want to have a good night's sleep.
Sure. I had to evaluate this as I've gotten older. I just turned 41 a couple days ago, and I don't really feel the need to sleep a lot. But I do think that sleep is really healthy, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of it. So my routine is generally, I get home, we'll sort of visit with my kids. There's often sports and things going on at that time. But, generally once they go to bed, I'll give myself about an hour to work. And then I try to put computers and things like that away and really try to have an hour of just sort of relaxation. I try to get my exercise in when I first get home. I try not to exercise right when I go to bed, but sometimes I have to do that. Dark room, dark lighting. I like a little bit of lavender in my bedroom just as a novel smell that kind of cues my brain to tell me that it's time to sleep. I travel a lot, so I bring the lavender with me. It kind of fools my brain into thinking I'm getting into my bed, even though I'm getting into some Marriott bed somewhere in the country. I read a little bit. I like biographies, like you said in the article, light reading. I'm reading an article on an autobiography of Morrissey right now, which is excellent reading, but kind of not terribly stimulating. And then time to go to bed.
All right, Dr. Winter, we should all take a page out of your book when it comes to bedtime. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's great. Sleep well in 2014.
I hope I will. The full list is in our resource hole below, so you can check that out so that you're sleeping well in the new year.